right, hello everyone. How is everyone today? Happy Tuesday. I hope you are having a wonderful start to your week. I am just going to pull up my chat here, see what you guys are chit-chatting about, and we will get started in just a quick minute here. And we're going to be working on some full cover tips today. So if you have tried our new full cover tips and you love them, that is fantastic. If you have tried them and you're struggling, hopefully I've got some tips and tricks for you today. And let's see, looks like we've got some familiar names in the chat there. So you guys welcome in. I'm so excited that you are all joining us already today. So I'm already starting. I actually have two hands that we're going to be working on. We've got a shorter set of nails here today, and then we've got some longer ones. But I'm just doing a quick prep here. I've already pushed back the cuticles, or at least on my trainer hand, I've simulated pushing back the cuticles. I'm just going to quickly remove the shine. I've already removed the shine from my second hand, so that one is all ready to go. But just quickly removing shine. I'm using a medium grit sanding band. My speed on this e-file, today I'm using our portable e-file, and this one is at 2000 RPMs. So nice and slow, actually nice and low. We'll say nice and low. It's not slow, but it's nice and low. So we've got our nails shine removed. Let's go ahead and grab our swipe. And I'm going to use our swipe to cleanse the nails. I just like to pump a little bit of that up onto my manicure brush. Actually, you guys, before I even do that, I'm going to just give them a quick dust, get rid of some of that excess dust off of there, and then I'll use that swipe and we'll go through and we'll clean those nails. So I always want to make sure that my nails are clean, they are prepped, they are ready to go. Let's see, Sherry says my struggles are the half tips. So the like the quarter well tips that you're asking about, Sherry, if you have questions, you guys, about any other topics, here on our YouTube channel, we have over 3,000 videos for you. And I know we've got some great videos on our quarter well tips. I personally have done a couple of those videos. So make sure to check out the rest of our channel here so you can get all of that other great education. Make sure to subscribe to the channel too, so that way, again, you've got access to all of that information. So today we're going to be working with our full cover tips. And if you guys haven't seen these on either our website or on other videos, we've got different shapes and different lengths. So today we're going to be working with a stiletto shape. And I've got the short, I've got medium, and I also have a long style. So you guys, let me show you really quick. I actually have these set out on a tile just because it makes it a little bit easier for me. So I've got the longer, the medium, and then the short. So let me come in a little closer so you guys can see. These are all going to be a stiletto look, but if you're wanting a longer look, we've got the long ones, we've got the medium ones, and then we've got the short ones. Now, the challenge is, and this is where I think a lot of people tend to get confused, is that just because you want maybe, let's go with the short. Maybe you want a short look, okay? What happens if you have a longer nail bed? I'm going to get to that in just a second. So today we're actually going to be doing some short ones, and I'm going to show you some tips and tricks for that. So let's start by sizing out the tips. So again, we want to work with our short nails. We want a short look. So I'm going to size out our nails for our short nail bed. So you guys, if you take a look at my nails, and you guys don't judge my nails. They have been used and abused over the past week. We've been doing a lot of filming and a lot of filing, so my nails have taken a beating. But I actually have a longer nail bed, and if I were to choose the short style, let's grab one of these here. If I grab the short nail, because I want just a cute little shorty on there, I have to be aware, let me see if I can come in a little closer. I have to be aware of where that tip is going to cover on my natural nail, okay? So actually, you guys, let me show you this on the trainer hand. I think it might be a little bit of a better view here than on my own nails. So if I take our nails that have the longer nail bed on them, and I try to put on a shorter tip, what's going to happen is if we take a look right down here along the edge, that tip may not cover all the way because I have a longer nail bed. Now, if I have a shorter nail bed, then that tip is going to fit and it's going to cover just fine. But you guys, I want to make sure that you see the difference between these. And I'm going to grab, let's see, so that was a short nail. Let me grab one of our medium and then also one of our long, and I'll show you the difference between these three. So again, let me grab, so there's our short, there's a medium, and let me grab a long. So again, when you're sizing out your tips, you want to make sure that you're not just choosing the tip based on the length that you want. You have to choose a tip based on the length of your nail bed. So again, we've got our, let me come in nice and close. We've got our short tip. So if you look, I'm going to point this out here. If you look at this tip, the area that's going to cover our natural nail is from here to about here. Once it gets to right about here, you can kind of see it starts to curve just a little bit. If I show you guys the same thing with our medium tip, okay, you can actually see it a little bit better with the medium length tip. So the medium, again, you've got that part that's going to cover the nail bed from back here all the way through to here. And then again, it's going to start to curve up into that free edge. Now on the medium, that area that's going to cover that nail is going to be a little bit longer than what it is on the short nail. So again, our short nail, let me turn this so you guys can see. I really want to make sure that you guys understand this. So our short nail is going to cover about to here. So this is the length that we're going to have covering our natural nail. On those longer nails or on the longer style, you've got more space that's going to cover that natural nail. So again, if you've got a longer nail bed like this one, and you try to apply a short tip on there, it's not going to cover all the way down through that nail bed. So for somebody that has a longer nail like this, you would need to go to either that medium or the longer style to cover that nail bed fully. So you guys can now see that this one's going to cover all the way down to the end of that free edge. Okay. Now, I also have, so you guys can see, I've got the kind of the longer nail bed here on the right, and I've got a shorter nail bed on the left. So for that shorter nail bed, that shorter style is going to have no issues covering all the way through that nail bed. Okay, so a person with a shorter nail bed, you can get away with using that short style, the medium style that I've got here, because again, that's going to still cover those edges, or the long stiletto, or any of the other shapes, you guys. But again, for a shorter nail bed, you're going to be able to use any of those lengths. For somebody with a longer nail bed, again, using that short nail is not going to cover all the way down to the edge. So you would need to use possibly a medium. On this nail, it looks like the medium is going to cover, or you could also use that longer style. But you do want to make sure that that nail is going to cover fully from cuticle to free edge without actually having to file into those corners. Okay. Monica says, that's my nail bed. Monica, are you the longer nail bed or the shorter nail bed? You guys let me know in the chat. Do you have shorter nail beds or do you have longer nail beds? So that way I can kind of tailor to your needs here today. But I am going to go through and I am going to size out my tips on, we're going to start on our shorter nails today. So that way you guys can see some tricks on how to work with the short style today. And then on our second hand, then maybe we'll go with our longer style. I think that's what we're going to do today. So I've already prepped the nails and cleansed those nails. So let's go ahead and size these out. Now, let me come out a little farther out here. So in our full cover tips, we do have size 00. So those are going to be your extra large. So for those maybe extra wide nails, if you've got those really big thumbs, you guys, you can see this is even too big for my thumb here. So if you've got those larger thumbs, you've got a great style here. We also have all the way down to size 13. So if you have those teeny tiny nails, again, let me come in here. So those teeny tiny nails. So this one is going to be even smaller than my nail itself. Okay, so you've got all the way from 00 all the way down to 13. So you can choose the right shape and size for your nails. So whatever nail is going to fit on you. Now, on our trainer hand, I've got a size 3. Is it 3 or 4? I think that's a 4 maybe. Let me check here. Let me go back into my kit here and we'll see. So I think I'm going to grab a size 3 because I know that's the size that fits my trainer hands, you guys. But I just want to make sure that you see exactly how I'm checking my size. So when I'm sizing my tip, the first thing I always check is the C curve of the nail. So the C curve, if you're not sure what that means, that's the curve of the nail if you're looking straight down the barrel. So it's the curve from side up to the other side. So the curve this way. So we always want to make sure that the C curve of our tip is going to fit the C curve of our nail. So you could either turn that tip around and kind of compare it looking like that, or if you just take that nail and you set that right down onto your natural nail, it should sit nice and comfortably. You shouldn't have to really force that down. You shouldn't have to use a lot of pressure to really squish that down, but it should also not hang off the edges too much. So this one actually looks like it's fitting really nicely on there. Guys, let me just show you here, just so you really understand what maybe sizing a tip out too small would be. So if I were to grab, now I've got a size 5, so this is definitely smaller. And a lot of times this is a big mistake that people make, is they think that they can use that tip and they can squish that tip on and really press that down flat to make it fit from side to side. But here's the trick. If you press that tip down, let me show you from this way. The tip has a curve to it and it likes to keep that curve. So if you take that tip and you press that curve down and you press that curve out, when you set that down onto the nail, what's going to happen is as soon as you let go of that nail, it's going to spring back to its original shape. So you want to make sure that you're not using too much pressure to really squish that down onto the nail, because once you have that on there, it's going to have a tendency to want to pop back up. And that can be why, if you're having any issues with lifting or if your tips are popping off, that could be why. So make sure that you size it out to a larger size, like the one I've got here, where again, it just sits right down flush onto that natural nail. I don't have to use a lot of pressure, but this one does look like it's hanging off the edges a little bit. And again, if I bring that all the way back to the cuticle area, you can see right around the edge here, it is hanging off a little bit. So in that case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that tip and I'm going to customize it a little bit. So I'm actually going to grab my my 180. So I've got a 180 file buffer combo, and I'm going to go through and I'm just going to kind of take off those edges anywhere that it was hanging over the edge. So just kind of rounding that out along the edge, coming through those corners and taking down that bulk. So just kind of rounding through there. Now, this is why I like the file buffer combo, because I can use that file side to kind of smooth out or take down those edges, and then I'll flip over to the buffer side and I can use that buffer edge to really clean up that kind of frayed edge. So we're going to go through, we're going to check our sizing on there, and that looks about right now. So this way it's not hanging over the edges around that cuticle. I may take down just a little bit more right through those corners down there. So just right through there. So again, it's not hanging off the side. Same thing, use that buffer side to smooth out that little bit of filing that we did. Taper that in a little bit. And then again, hit it with that buffer. So now, if we take a look at that, now that's going to sit just right onto our nail. Now, I do size these out just ever so slightly larger. So let me show you here really quickly, nice and close up. When I'm working with my Tip and Jewel Adhesive Gel, I do size that out just ever so slightly larger than that natural nail, because we're going to be using, like I said, our Tip and Jewel Adhesive Gel. And I've got 2 different ones that I'm going to show you today. But these are, being a gel, they are a little bit thicker. So they're a little bit thicker than what a regular glue is going to be. So I want to make sure that I'm leaving a little bit of space to compensate for the thickness of that gel adhesive. Okay. Now I have sized out all of the nails that I've got ready for this hand. and I've prepped my natural nails. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to remove the shine from the well of the tip. So when we're working with our Tip and Jewel Adhesive Gel, anytime you work with a gel, gels do not like to stick to a smooth and shiny surface. So if we take a look at our tip here, this is a smooth and shiny surface. So what we need to do is go through with our electric file, and I'm just going to gently remove that shine. Again, just like we were prepping, I'm going to use my lower speed. Right now I'm at about 2000 RPMs. I'm going to go through all of the tips that I have sized out and customized and ready to go. Go through and just create a little bit of texture right in the well. And just enough to remove that shine. So just enough to create a little bit of texture on there so our adhesive is going to stick really, really well. So again, just going through. Now, you guys, if you are working on really small tips, those size 13s, those little teeny tiny nails, then I would grab our, let me come in nice and close. This is our diamond cuticle square bit. And this one is going to work great for those smaller nails that you can get right up in there nice and tight. So if the sanding band is a little bit too large for the tip that you're using, you can definitely use this one as well. All right, so we've got our nails prepped. We've pushed back the cuticles. Whoops, popped my nail off here. We've pushed back those cuticles. We've removed the shine from the nails. I'm going to dust these off, and I've already cleansed them once with our swipe, but I am going to cleanse them one more time just to be on the safe side. I'm going to pump a little bit of that swipe onto my manicure brush. We're going to go through and we're going to cleanse those. Now, after we cleanse, we're going to apply a coat of our protein bond. And protein bond is what's going to really help to adhere these nails on to, or adhere the tips onto the nails. Now, this is not a primer, it is a bonder. So it actually works more like a double-sided tape rather than an actual methacrylic acid primer. So this, we're going to apply 2 coats onto our natural nails just to make sure that we've got really good adhesion. And we're also going to apply a coat of this to the well of our tips that we just prepped. And what this is going to do is it's going to give a sticky layer to that natural nail, but it's also going to give a sticky layer onto that tip. So basically the sticky layers are going to adhere to our Tip and Jewel Adhesive Gel that we're going to apply our tips with. So really quickly, just brushing through 2 nice even coats from cuticle to free edge. But you guys notice that as I'm brushing this on, I don't start all the way at the cuticle. I start a little ways away and then I work back to the cuticle. So this way I'm not going to flood any product onto the skin or have that brush come in contact with that cuticle or sidewalls, because I always want to make sure that I keep my product off of the skin. Now, next thing I'm going to do is apply a coat to the well of that tip, so that area that we just prepped. So again, creating a little bit of, we've already got a textured surface, but now we're going to create that tacky surface. So going through all of our tips, brushing all the way through, and then we'll go ahead and grab our Tip and Jewel Adhesive Gel. Now you guys, when you're working with Tip and Jewel Adhesive Gel, you have 2 options. I'm going to show you here real quick. So we've got our you guys, I can't even talk today. Tip and Jewel Thin Adhesive Gel. Let me just read it right there. Tip and Jewel Thin Adhesive Gel, and that comes in the tube. We also have a thicker, and this one is our original. This is our Tip and Jewel Adhesive Gel original. And this one is a thicker gel. So this one, guys, I got a brand new jar here that I just opened up. So this one is a thicker gel. So this one is actually going to be really good for if you've got maybe flat nail beds or flat nail surface like that. If you've got maybe a nail that doesn't quite fit the C curve of your tip and you need to fill in a little bit more space, it works great for those nail biters. So anybody out there, you guys let me know in the chat. If you're a nail biter, give me a little thumbs up in the chat. We don't necessarily want to, say thumbs up to having a nail biter, but let me know that you're out there. So For those nail biters and those little teeny tiny nails, a lot of times I really like to use the thicker adhesive. And then with more, I'm going to say perfect nails, but nails that really fit your tips perfectly, if you've got a really nice structure to your natural nail, that's where the thinner adhesive is going to work really well. But for right now, I'm going to work with our thicker adhesive, and then on our second hand, I'll show you guys our thinner adhesive. So make sure that you're sticking around to see all of that. And I'm going to grab my spatula. Now this is a dual-ended brush and spatula. So on one end it's got my spatula, on the other end it's got the brush. And what we're going to do is one other thing that I want to show you here before I actually get to the application is our Touch Cure light. So this is a nice little light. It's on a little stand here. So this is what I'm going to use to set the tips into place. And you can kind of see here, there we go. So I'll turn the light on, but then I'm going to tap the end and it's going to turn the light off. So now I'm going to just set this right here so that as I'm applying those tips, I can just tap that on, tap it off as I'm setting the tips. Okay, so I did want to show you guys that before I come in nice and close here so that you guys can see. Maybe that was too close. So you guys can, just so that you know that that's what I've got going on here. Okay, so we've got our tips ready to go. Now, when I apply this, I'm not going to just take that adhesive and put that on there and just squish that tip down flat. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start at an angle. Now I'm going to come in nice and close because I want you guys to see this. And at this point, I don't have adhesive on my tip just yet, but I'm going to get that on there and then I'll show you. But I want to make sure that you see the application technique before I actually put the adhesive on. So when I put my tip on, I'm going to start, instead of just going on there flat, I'm going to start at an angle downward towards the cuticle. The reason for this is because if I just squish that tip down flat on there, a lot of times what's going to happen is you're going to get an air pocket right underneath. So by starting with it at an angle, I'm going to touch that back cuticle area down, and then I'm going to slide it back towards the cuticle. The reason that I don't just start right at that cuticle is because sometimes you may have a little bit of that adhesive squeeze out the back end. And if I start right at that cuticle, it's going to squeeze out onto the cuticle. Instead, I'm going to start a little ways away, touch down, and if any of that adhesive does squeeze out, I can just move that tip back over it, and it's going to seal that down into the nail. Okay, so we're going to just set that down, slide it back, and then we're going to rock that tip down onto the nail. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab our adhesive. And again, I'm going to grab my spatula. I'm going to take a little scoop of that, kind of tap off those little edges there. And I'm going to start with my adhesive right down in the middle of the well of that tip. I'm going to press that down and I'm going to drag that back. And I'm using some pressure because I actually want to make sure that I'm pressing out any little air bubbles that may be in there. And I'm going to press that from side to side. Now, I want you guys to notice I leave a little bit of space on either edge. So right through here and then right through here on the edge. I leave a little bit of space in there, so when I do put this onto the nail, any of that adhesive that squeezes out to the sides, again, it's not going to squeeze out the edges and come in contact with the skin. Now I've got a little bit of that gel still on the back of my spatula. I'm going to just scrape that right into the back of the well, and we'll go ahead and set this down onto the nail. So again, we're going to come in that slight downward angle. I'm going to connect the two. So you can see that gel right back through here where it's actually connecting. I'm going to set that down, press that down. I'm going to slide that tip back just a little bit more. And then we're going to start to rock that tip down. Now you're going to see that gel squeeze down and it's going to press out any little air pockets. Make sure that you're using good even pressure all the way through. Pressing that down. Now I'm going to hold this right here. I'm going to turn on that Touch Cure light and we're going to freeze this tip into place. Now what I'm doing at this point is basically just setting the tip into place. I'm not doing a full cure at this time. Okay, I'm going to set each nail into place for maybe about 20 seconds or so. Again, securing that onto the nail. And then once we have all of the nails on, we're going to put this into our full UV LED light to do a full cure and really secure those nails on. Okay, so again, just a quick, maybe 20-second freeze in there. I'll turn my Touch Cure light off. We'll go ahead and finish out all of the rest of the application. So again, we're going to take a little bit of that adhesive. I'm going to set that right down into the well, pressing that down, pressing out any little air pockets, bringing that out from side to side, nice and thin. And then I'm going to take the rest of that product from the back of my spatula, set that right back into the well. Again, we're going to start at that downward angle, connect the two. Now you guys, I do want to show you something that I really love about the thicker adhesive is once I set this down onto the nail, I can get that on there and then see what happens when I let go? It doesn't, I mean, you can kind of see it's lifting up just a little bit, but it doesn't move, it doesn't slide. So you have time and you have the ability to kind of work with this a little bit more. Make sure that that nail is straight before you cure it down. Slide that back a little bit more if you need to. So just take the time that you need to get that tip situated and perfectly straight on the nail. Once you have that straight, once you have that right where you want it, then you can again turn on that touch cure light, freeze that tip into place. Now, when you're working with the touch cure light, a lot of times I like to kind of rotate that nail just a little bit, making sure that the light is going to hit all surfaces of that nail to really secure that into place. Again, we're going to do this for maybe about 20 seconds or so, setting that tip into place and just securing it onto the nail. All right, I think we're good there. Let's turn that off. Now you guys make sure that when you're using that touch cure light, you guys, you can kind of see here, my touch cure light is right here and this is where the light is hitting. I don't have my adhesive anywhere near the light. My adhesive is off to the side. I want to make sure that the adhesive in the jar is not getting hit by that light because it will cure in the jar. So just a quick little trick there. Make sure that when you are curing them that the adhesive is away from the light so that you're not curing it in the light. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and do our next nail. So again, we'll grab our adhesive, take a little scoop, tap off those little edges. I'm going to set that right down into the well. I'm going to press that all the way out, nice and even throughout the well. Almost all the way out from side to side, and then scrape off the last little bit from my spatula. And we'll set this down onto the nail as well. So again, touch that down, slide that back, rocking that tip down. Now you guys notice how I'm supporting underneath here. I want to make sure that I'm supporting that nail or that finger so that the finger itself doesn't move and I can get that tip on nice and straight. Looks like I had a little bit of that gel squeeze out the edge there. So we'll clean that off. Again, I'm going to turn that touch cure light on. You guys, if you are using the touch cure light, make sure that you're keeping the light itself about 6 inches away from the nails. You don't want to have it right down on the nail, because I'm going to show you this. I'm going to show you what not to do. So don't put the light this close because that can actually build up a little bit of extra heat and you don't want to cause any heat or discomfort on your client's nail. So I always like to have it really about 6 inches away. And again, rotate that finger through the light to make sure that you are catching all of the edges, okay? All right, so again, freezing that one into place. Let's come in a little closer here. Guys, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying our content today. If you're enjoying this lesson, if it's helping, make sure to subscribe so that way we can continue to give you guys free education. So on our next nail here, same thing, applying that adhesive right in the well. I'm going to scrape off that extra. We're going to just adhere that at a slight angle, touching that down, slide that back. We're going to rock that tip down just until that gel meets up with the nail. I'm going to slide that back just a little closer to the cuticle. I'm going to turn my touch cure light on, get that nail right under the light, and readjust. There we go. Get our nail right under the light and we'll secure that again for another maybe 20 seconds or so. Now, you guys, this is the exact rotation that I use when I'm working on an actual real client. I will apply each nail, freeze it with the touch cure light for about 20 seconds, go on to the next nail. Once I have all 5 nails on this hand done, then I'm actually going to take this hand and I'm going to put this one back into our full UV LED light. So this one's going to go into the light. That's going to cure for a full 60 seconds. And I'm going to go on to our second hand. So on our second hand, I'm going to show you guys how to use the thin adhesive gel. And I'm also going to show you the application using the long stiletto tips. So you guys, on this first one, we used our short style. On the second one here, we're going to use the long style. So like I was showing you guys before, if you have a shorter nail bed, this shorter tip is actually going to fit from cuticle to right in the stress area a lot better on your shorter nail beds. If you have longer nail beds, that shorter style tip may not fit all the way from cuticle through your free edge. So on these longer nail beds, you want to make sure that you're using either the medium or the long length of our stiletto tips, okay? So make sure that you've got those. And you guys, I've already sized out and customized these, but if you do need to, if you missed that part in our demo earlier, you can go through and you can file around those edges to make sure that everything is going to fit flush up into that cuticle area. So right up into that cuticle to make sure it's going to look very natural. And you guys, I always say natural, even though these are not a natural nail, but you get what I mean. So I do have all of my tips sized out. Actually, I think I lied on that. I think I did not size out this first one here for you. But let's size that one out really quick. And what I'm checking for when I size out my tips is, does that tip fit flush down onto that natural nail without me having to really press that on there? Or does it want to pop back up? And we want to make sure that it's not popping back up. So this one is going to fit the C-curve of our nail nice and easily. It does hang off a little bit right in those corners. So I'm just going to go through and I'm just going to file out those corners, round those out just a little bit so they are going to fit a little bit more flush up into my cuticle area here. You guys, somebody was commenting on my nails. You guys, the red that I have on my nails is one of our gel polishes. And this one is called Love Heap. So right there, we do have the matching air dry polishes for that as well. So Love Heap is the red that I've got on my nails, if you were wondering. And thank you for asking. All right, so again, just kind of rounding out that cuticle area to fit up into my natural cuticle area right up in there. So I think that's going to look just right. Now again, just like we did on our last hand, we're going to go through and we're going to remove the shine and right through the well of that tip, because again, we are still using our Tip and Jewel Adhesive Thin Gel. So this is a gel that we're going to be using to adhere our tips. And we want to make sure that we're removing shine, because gel generally does not like to stick to a smooth and shiny surface. So always make sure that you go through, remove that shiny surface. And you guys, I think I lost one of my nails here. I don't know. There we go. Okay. All right. So again, just gently removing the shine all the way through. And this shouldn't take very long. It should just be a quick and easy file all the way through. And don't overthink it. Don't spend extra time that you don't need to. But I am going to dust these out. I'm going to use my manicure brush just really quickly, dusting these out. Get rid of some of that excess dust out of there. Now we've already prepped our natural nails, but I'm going to give them a quick dust, and then I'm going to grab my, sorry guys, my swipe, and I'm going to pump a little bit of that onto my manicure brush. And we'll use that to cleanse those nails, to really make sure that we've got any dust cleaned off of there, any germs from there, any surface oils or any other contaminants that may be on that nail, any bacteria and all of that good stuff. We've cleaned that off with our swipe. Somebody's asking, what grit is the Arbor Band? Guys, the one that I was using today is a medium grit, and I was using it at about 2,000 RPMs. So next thing we're going to use is our protein bond, and this is our bonder. So this is what's going to really help our tips adhere to the gel, which is going to adhere to our natural nail. And protein bond works kind of like a double-sided tape. So it's going to stick to that natural nail, but then it's going to leave kind of that sticky surface to grab onto whatever you put over the top of it. And when we're working with either our full cover tips or any other kind of enhancement, whether it's acrylics or hard gels, I always recommend using 2 coats of the protein bond. This is going to give us that really good adhesion, and it's going to leave a really good tacky layer. So I'm going to go through, apply our 2nd coat from cuticle to free edge, nice and easily. But again, you guys, I always stay a little ways from that cuticle. I don't bring that brush all the way back to the cuticle because I don't want this product touching the skin. As with any product, any nail product, you don't want to have anything touching the skin. You don't want to overexpose your clients to any chemicals, okay? Now, I do have those nails that I've removed the shine from them, but I'm also going to go through with my protein bond and I'm going to apply just 1 coat to the well where I've created that texture. What this is going to do is it's going to combine with the texture and it's going to give us a really textured but tacky surface to grab onto our gel. So this way we're going to have even better adhesion. So make sure that you're doing 1 coat of that protein bond through the well of each tip. And we've got that on there. So on our first hand, I was showing you guys our thick tip and Jewel Adhesive Gel. Now I'm going to show you our thin adhesive. So this is just another option for you. And I actually prefer to use this one in the tube most often because it is a little bit easier to apply. But if if you have somebody with flatter nail beds or maybe a little damage or uneven areas on their nails, then I would go with the thicker adhesive gel. But if you've got those really nice natural nails that are going to fit those tips perfectly, then you can use that thin adhesive gel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start, I got to squeeze this, you guys, I'm getting low on my product here. Got to squeeze that to the end, and I'm just going to draw a line of that all the way through that cuticle area. And just squeeze out all the way through. Let me come in nice and close so you can see. So I don't need a ton of that, just right around that cuticle area. Now, same thing, I am going to set up my touch cure light here. So if you missed what I was showing you earlier, the touch cure light is going to help me set my tips into place. So I'm going to turn that on, tap the end of that to turn it off. And I do want to make sure that that light is about 6 inches away from that natural nail. So I don't want the nail right up close to it like this. I want it a little ways away, again about 6 inches or so. Now, when we're applying the tip, sorry guys, let me get a little better view here. So when we're applying the tip, just like we did with our thicker adhesive gel, we're going to start with that tip at a slight angle. So again, I'm not going to just squish that down flat on there. I'm going to start at a slight angle, a little ways from the cuticle. I'm going to touch that down, slide it back, and then rock that tip down. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and do this. So again, set that tip down. Again, you're still going to see that adhesive connect to the nail. Slide that tip back. Keep putting pressure back at that cuticle area. So this way it's going to press that adhesive all the way back to the cuticle. You guys, I can see I've got a little tiny bit of a bubble right in the back there. I'm going to just slide that tip forward. You can see I'm putting pressure on there. Slide that tip forward, and I'm going to kind of resituate that. So this way, if you do see any of those little air pockets in there or anything like that, know that if you haven't cured it already, you can just slide that tip off, reposition, and reapply that. Now I do have a little bit of adhesive that did kind of squeeze out onto the top. I'm going to use one of our lint-free wipes and just wipe that off. So this way I'm not going to have any of that product where I don't want it. So again, we're going to touch that down, slide that back towards the cuticle, rock that nail all the way down, pressing down that adhesive until it connects all the way down to our free edge. Again, I'm supporting that nail from underneath. I'm going to turn on our touch cure light, and we'll use that touch cure light to set this nail into place. So I'm going to cure this now for maybe about 20 seconds or so, usually about 10 to 20 or so. Turn that nail from side to side. Make sure that that light is hitting all the way through all of those different areas of that nail to set this tip into place. Now I'm not using my Touch Cure Light to fully cure this on here. I'm just using it to freeze that tip into place. So once I have all of my tips on, then I can put the nail into the full UV LED light and I can cure those nails all the way through. But I'm just going to go through and apply each of my nails in that same way. Again, just squeezing out a little bit of that thin adhesive gel right in the well. So all the way through from side to side. And then same thing, I'm going to start at that slight downward angle, little ways from the cuticle, but slide back towards the cuticle. I'm going to press that tip down using some pressure back at that cuticle area. And then we'll just gently start to rock that tip all the way down through that free edge until you start to see that gel connect all the way to that natural nail. And you guys, I can kind of see on this one, I actually need a little bit more adhesive because it wasn't coming all the way to the end. And that's fine. Just like I showed you before, put some pressure, slide that tip off. I've got a little bit of an air bubble there. I'm going to add just a little bit more product to my well. Now, if you've got longer nail beds or longer natural nails, you may have to use a little bit more gel than you thought you did because you want to make sure that that product is getting all the way down to that free edge. So like I said, if you have to remove that tip and add a little bit more gel to it, that is not a problem. So just like we did before, we're going to turn our Touch Cure Light on. We're going to freeze this into place, and I am going to hold that into place. Now, you guys, when you're working with the thin adhesive gel, this is definitely thinner than what's in the little jar. And this one, I want to make sure that I don't let go of this until it is cured. So until it is secure onto that nail. If you let go of this one, because it is a thinner viscosity, a thinner consistency, it is going to, there's a chance that it could slide or it could move. So you want to make sure you don't let go of that until it has a chance to actually grab on and cure onto the nail. So again, about 20 seconds or so in the light there, and then we can go on to our next nail. So this one, same thing. We're going to squeeze a little bit of that adhesive. This one I may end up squeezing just a little bit more to start with, just to make sure. And again, we're going to touch that down to the nail, press that back towards our cuticle, bringing all of that gel down to the free edge. A little bit more pressure on there, and then I'm going to turn on that Touch Cure Light. We're going to freeze this into place. Again, for another 20 seconds or so to just set that into place. Again, we're not fully curing this at this point. We're just freezing those tips onto our nails, and then we'll get this into our full UV LED light to finish that curing process. Okay, and you can kind of see a little bit of that gel wasn't quite cured, so it did bring a little bit of a bubble because my tip moved a little bit. So I just put a little more pressure on there, and I'm again keeping this under the light just a little bit longer until that sets. Okay, so that one is set. We'll grab our last nail here and we'll apply our adhesive, our gel into the well. We'll get that on there at that slight downward angle, slide back to our cuticle, and we're going to rock that down until that tip meets that natural nail. Hold that there. We'll turn on our Touch Cure Light and we'll freeze that one into place. Now you guys, once I do have this last one done, I am going to put this hand into the full UV LED light and I'm going to cure that in there for a full 60 seconds. Now I did have our first hand in there and that one is cured out. So I'm going to show you how to get these nails ready for whatever application you're going to do over the top of them. So whether it's a gel polish, a hard gel, a fiber gel application, you do need to prep the nails a little bit. So I'm going to show you that in just a second. Somebody's asking, how is the adhesive different from regular base gel? So the gels that I'm using for our application today, these are our Tip and Jewel Adhesive Gel. So again, you guys, this hand is going to go into the light for a full 60-second cure. So the gels that I'm using today Our Tip and Jewel adhesive gels, these are actually soft gels, so they can be soaked off. They have a little bit more flexibility to them than our Synergy hard gels do or our base gel does. So just keep in mind, if you are wanting to soak the nails off, you're not going to be able to soak off our Synergy base gel, but these you can soak off, and again, they have a little bit more flexibility. And I feel like a little bit more kind of a springy feel to them. So they actually hold those tips on really, really well, and they do flex a little bit with your natural nail. Now, before you do any type of gel polish or, finishing or anything like that, before you do that, again, we have a shiny surface. So we want to make sure that we're not leaving that shiny surface before we apply a gel polish. So we're going to go through and we're going to remove the shine. And again, I'm going to take my sanding band. And with this, I'm also going to, let me come in nice and close. There may be just a tiny little bit of a ridge in that back area. So you want to make sure that you are just beveling that down a little bit, down to that natural nail. So just enough to kind of thin and taper out that cuticle area. And then you can remove the shine, just flowing your bit all the way through the rest of that nail, removing the shine. And then I also like to go through with my hand file just to make sure that I've cleaned up any edges, anything that may be hanging off the edge, or if there's anything else that I need to reshape. I can just go through and I can clean up those edges, reshape those edges. You guys, these tips can be clipped shorter even. So if you had to start with the longer tip and you want to go to a shorter nail, you can definitely do that as well. But just making sure that you've removed the shine so that your gel polish is going to adhere. So you guys, let me show you on one of our nails over on our longer hand here. So if you wanted, maybe you have that longer nail bed and you had to go with the longer style tip. If you want to, you can always come back in either with your tip cutter, or if you've got a toenail clipper, you can use that, clip that shorter. If you want to round these out and change the shape out, I'm going to grab my toenail clipper, and again, I can just clip that a little bit more into shape, and we can create custom shapes as well. So just because you used the long stiletto doesn't mean that you have to do a long stiletto. You can use that long stiletto shape of a tip, but you can shorten that up. You can customize that to whatever is going to work for you. Again, with this one, you do want to make sure that you still go through and kind of bevel down that cuticle area. Remove any shine before you go through with your gel polish application. So again, just a quick removing the shine there. And then before you do your gel polish application, you're going to dust that nail off. Cleanse that once more with our swipe. And you're going to apply one more coat of protein bond. Oops, I need a little bit more of that swipe on there. Okay, cleanse that off. And then you're going to apply one more coat of the protein bond on that nail once it's dry. And then you can go into your gel polish application. Which, you guys, we're not going to do the full gel polish application today. We're going to go ahead and call it a lesson for today. But if you guys want to see any other videos, any other demos and things like that, we've got a ton of different videos here on our YouTube channel. Make sure that you do subscribe to our channel so that you can always come back and see those videos, and that you can come back and see our live stream. So again, make sure, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, join our community, and join us next time. We'll see you guys back then. Thanks.